A vision of love. Let's talk about love. This is only a theory. There is no certainty in this theme. You should not believe these ideas. You have to investigate them. There are only some pictures that help to talk about love. Talking about love is important because it can improve our relationships. If you want to talk with me about this subject, you can send me an email. I want to learn at robertsvaluableeducation.com. Here you see a picture of the external world and a human being in the university with symbols. Inside there's the ego. When you are talking about yourself, you use the word I am doing things, I am thinking, I am feeling. This I is the ego. It is who you think you are. And there is a connection with the external world. In between, there's an image. The image is the part of your ego you want to show to others. Some things of your ego, they are there, but you don't want to show them. So there is an image of you between your ego and the external world. Also, there is a layer of unconditional love inside yourself. I call it love, but you could also call it energy or God or awareness, consciousness. Mostly we don't have contact with this beautiful layer inside ourselves, and that is because there is fear between it. There's also fear in our body, and often we don't want to feel this fear, and therefore we are walking away from it. So this is a picture of us. It's just a picture. It are some symbols. The ego is who you think you are, but actually there is more of you. So your image, your ego, your fear, the unconditional love, all the energy in your body, it is who you actually are. And you are more than you think you are. So most of the time we don't have contact with this layer underneath our ego. But it is possible to have contact. Before we are going to talk about contact with unconditional love inside ourselves, let's first talk about the situation when the ego loves itself. That's also possible. We call it narcissism. And narcissism could be bad because people who love themselves, they are not very kind. They are, we say they have a big ego, but be aware, narcissism can be bad, but narcissism is not necessarily bad. It is possible that a narcissist is a friendly person, so don't judge too fast. But this presentation is not about narcissism. It is about another kind of love which we have inside ourselves. I call it unconditional love, and I'm going to talk about how to connect with this layer inside ourselves. Um, First of all, a situation when there is contact, often we don't choose such a situation ourselves, because often in our lives, the first time that we feel a kind of a contact often is in a situation with suffering. And of course, we don't choose to suffer. So it's just a situation in our lives. And normally, when we suffer, the ego tries to solve the problems, which is good. Of course, it is good to solve problems, but sometimes the suffering is that big. It is unbearable suffering, and the ego can't handle it. So you could say, I can't bear it anymore. For instance, when you start crying, when you cry, you can't stand the suffering anymore. And this crying is a connection with this unconditional love. And you can feel it when you cry. When you cry, the ego cannot handle the problems anymore. And beneath the crying, you could feel a warm sensation. Your tears are warm. So maybe that is a situation when you can have contact with this layer inside yourself, which is under your ego. This unconditional love layer inside yourself can help you. It can help you by changing unbearable suffering into accepted pain. Suffering is pain we don't want to feel. We don't want to suffer, but we suffer in our lives. And if it's possible to change the suffering into accepted pain, it is a little bit easier to live with it. Another way to connect with unconditional love is when we are in love. So that's a total other situation. When you are in love, um, it can be that there's a moment the ego can relax completely, and you feel truly happy. And this truly happiness, you could also say it is contact with this unconditional love. However, when you are in love, also there might be some fear in it. Before a relation, you fear that the other person won't love you back. But also when you have a relation, also there can be fear. There is a relation, but you may fear that the relation may end, and you hope that it will last very long, but for it is not certain for sure. So there can be some fear in love, although it is possible if you connect with your deep self, it is possible to love with confidence. And what is the difference? When you have contact with unconditional love, you are able to share this feeling, and loving another is giving things of yourself. So you feel a lot of love in yourself, and you just want to share it. And if you want to share this feeling, you can do it with confidence. You don't have to be afraid in losing the other. A third way to have connection with unconditional love, with the deeper layer inside yourself, it through meditation, and you can choose to meditate. So it is an action of the ego who is searching for this layer inside yourself. So when you are meditate, we are going to look at our thinkings, to look at our emotions, and all emotions are okay. So normally we think in positive and negative emotions, but when you are going to start meditating, all the emotions are okay. Appreciate all emotions. For sure, being happy is fine. There's no problem in being happy. But also sadness is a warm emotion. So if you allow yourself to be sad, it is possible to feel it as a warm emotion. Your tears are warm. Also, being angry is useful. When you are angry, there's a lot of energy. So being angry is not a problem. Um, I think violence is a bad thing. So beware before you take actions. Beware before you take actions. But being angry is not a problem. So angry is a lot of energy, and just give yourself some time to feel this emotion. Fear is I think, the most interesting emotion. Fear has a lot of different faces. Um, Fear is the most difficult emotion not to ray away from, but it might be an entrance to unconditional love. You may have your fears, but you are not your fears. So, looking at fears as just an emotion is another situation that you are your fear. But this is very difficult. So you must practice to look at your emotions without being them. If you have contact with this unconditional love, it is possible to look to your ego, so to have conscience about yourself. And if you practice this a lot, it is a little bit like looking to yourself from some distance, and also to a little bit laugh about yourself and feeling love about yourself. But it is a little bit love with some distance. It is as if the grown up watch to the child, because often the ego is a little bit childish, but there is an impersonal love for the ego. Of course, we meet other people in the world, and we are going to talk about connections. And our connections can be fed by this unconditional love we have inside ourselves. If you have a connection, and there are many different kind of connections, it can be a love relation, but it can also be a friend or a colleague or family. We have a lot of different kind of connections, and in each connection there can be love, and if this is love which is fed by the unconditional love inside ourselves, we have a lot to offer, and we have nothing to lose because we share something which is a source in ourselves, and just we are just sharing these sources. There's nothing to lose because your self-esteem does not depend on others. The other is a gift. Of course, a connection can end, and um, in most cases, um, this is not a very fun situation. Often we fight with each other when a connection ends, but it is not necessary to fight. It is also possible to feel gratitude and to think about unforgettable memories. Um, so when a connection ends, you can choose how to look to your past, and I think this is a way to look at the past in a positive way. When a love relationship ends, it is usually for good. Love relationships usually end for good, but family relationships may blossom up again many years later. So there's a important difference between family relations and love relations, because we are family for our whole life. So be careful when a relationship ends in the family. Be careful that you don't say, I don't want to see you never again. Mind to use the words never again, because family relations may blossom up again many years later. Um, of course, we have a lot of troubles in our lives, and unfortunately, sometimes it is necessary to have distance with our family. Um, but keep in mind that things can change over times, and sometimes after many, many years. So a relationship may end. A connection, there's a lot to offer, there's nothing to lose. The fear of abandonment may be felt. So, um, if we have a connection, sometimes we have fear. We may feel fear that we are going to lose the connection. Um, and if we don't want to feel this fear, it is possible to have certain arrangements that the connection changes into something which feels safe and feels very familiar, and there is no fear of abandonment. And this kind of relation is good. There's nothing wrong with it. So it is very good to feel this safeness, of course. However, if you allow yourself to feel the fear of abandonment, it is possible that the energy you feel in the beginning of the relationship, to feel it during the rest of the relationship. So, in fact, feeling this fear, it can give you energy, and it can keep your relation alive. Of course, when we have a connection, there can be annoyance. I'm upset with my partner. What to do? I think with when you have problems in your connection, I think a good idea is to meditate and to be alone for a while. Think about it. Think about the situation. I am upset with my partner. What does it mean to me? What are my emotions? And appreciate all emotions. Also, being angry is okay, being sad is okay. All emotions are okay. Being alone for a long time is a problem for a baby, but it's not for an adult. You may allow the fear of being alone. Don't walk away from it. And I think also in a relationship, it is good to be alone now and then because you can reflect on the things happening in your life. After meditation, you can talk to your partner, and if you reflect on the things which are happening, it is possible to have a conversation, to have an honest conversation. And I think honesty is important in the long term. Talk about the things you think, but also talk about the things you feel. I think talking about feelings can help and can deeper your relationship. Also, talk without rejection. So, if you talk about your own thinkings and your own feelings, it is much easier to talk with each other than when you are talking about the actions of the other one. When we meet, often we meet through our image, because the image are those things of our ego we want to show to the rest of the world, and also in the beginning of a love relation. At first, we show our image to our lover. But it is possible to deeper the connection. Do you dare to take off your mask? So it might be a little bit scary to show more of yourself than only your image, but it can deeper your relation. So yeah, try to take off your mask and show to your partner who you are. At first, we get excited about each other, and that puts us in contact with unconditional love. Later on, we press each other's pain buttons, and that might also bring contact with unconditional love. In fact, when somebody is pressing the most painful button inside yourself, and also is be able to a little bit to cure this pain, there will be a lot of love. Most of the times we feel love when somebody is pressing our most painful button. So this was my presentation. If you want to talk about this subject with me, you can send me an email. I want to learn at robertsvariableeducation.com. Thanks for watching this video. Bye bye.